entertainment.
Let's be renegades, reckless, running through our veins. Let's be renegades, good for nothing, runaways. That girl got her own bag.
So welcome to the Badass Babes of Entertainment. I'm Brenda Fisher.
And I'm Megan Katz.
And today we have Tammy Lynn, and she is the senior publicist and founder of Spotlight PR Company. With over 20 years experience, she has helped thousands of actors, filmmakers, creators, and other artists craft their public image, build name recognition, and generate career buzz. She successfully built her boutique PR firm by offering effective and affordable publicity services for creative artists at entry level. Tammy has taught classes, written articles, and participated in panels and interviews for numerous entertainment organizations, including SAG Foundation, ScriptMag, The Collaborative, Thriving Artist Circle, BackStage, and more. Welcome to the podcast, Tammy Lynn.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's great to be here.
We are stoked to have you because we have been talking about PR and the inner workings and trying to figure out what you guys do, because it seems like it is its own animal for sure.
It's a mystery.
Yes.
And we want to unpack that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And
So
I appreciate that, because I'll tell you, nothing makes me smile more than when I start working with a client and they actually know a little bit. You know, they have an idea of what it is that we need or what they're wanting or what the goal is. And I don't have to explain everything to them. So I love doing stuff like this where I'm just helping to educate, actors and any type of creative artist as to what they can do and what they should be doing and all the different inner workings of it all.
awesome. Well, do you mind describing for everyone exactly what PR is and what you do?
Sure. Okay. So PR in general is casts a wide net. So it can include any types of promotion. So that could be, press opportunities, of course, but it can also mean social media. It could even mean those promotional materials that an actor might send out, whether it's an electronic press kit or it's a postcard or anything like that. That all sort of gets lumped under PR, right? What I specifically do as a publicist is work at getting publicity. So working with the press in particular. And that is getting, I'm a little bit different. My firm is rather niche and works a little more behind the scenes. So I don't do red carpets and parties and events and all of that. I work more going behind and trying to just secure articles and interviews and capture sort of those, all of that ink, like we used to call it in the old days when it was actually printed.
And who
but
do
now
you
it's all online. So there you go.
I'm curious who you specifically work with. Is it just actors? Do you work with brands? Like, go a list of who would need you.
So I started out years and years ago in corporate PR, and I worked on every type of PR that you could imagine, every factor, every sector of the industry. I narrowed it down into entertainment. I like that so much more, and it fit my background a little better. And specifically now, what I do at Spotlight PR Company is really work with actors and filmmakers and some other content creators. So anybody that's making content, whether it's on a streaming or whatever, it doesn't have to be film per se. But I help them, mostly independent, although I do work with actors who are on network and, shows or in studio movies or whatever. But for the most part, I try not to handle celebrities unless they're reaching for a different arena. So actors who are now trying to be directors or doing something different, because I never really enjoyed the red carpet. I never really enjoyed putting out fires, when it became a publicity nightmare. I enjoy, what I love most of all is helping somebody who is maybe new to introducing PR into their career and helping them secure their first few interviews. I just love that because they don't really know what they're doing yet, but it's still so exciting for them. And so they're starting to get their feet wet, and it's just a lot of fun. And it can range from, again, network TV shows that we've all heard about to little tiny, self-produced web series. It can be, and everything is the gamut for what this type of projects that I work on and people that I work with. And it is mostly actors though, and filmmakers.
Great. And when should someone hire you on?
So as a rule of thumb, the press tends to have the most interest in anyone, no matter what level you're at, when you have something that's coming out that the general public can go see or watch or listen to or whatever it is that you're promoting. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a series regular. I work with actors at all levels. It really is about setting your goals, your needs, and your budget a little bit for all of that. But I work with people who are, they just got their first co-star and they want to see what they can get. And oftentimes, and I always tell people, don't discount those hometown newspapers because they like to do those hometown hero stories and they like to put out, things that feel good and that are upbeat. And if you're from a smaller town, maybe not New York or LA or even Chicago, but if there are specific areas within any of those big cities, a lot of them have individual papers. But if you're from a small town, even better, because they don't get as many people who are artists working in the industry. So they'll love when you're even just at the co-star level. But if you have, if you're a series regular, you will have probably the studio involved a little more than if you are just a co-star. And I deal with that too. But you should always, I tell every actor specifically, if you're not in control of the project yourself, you really should consider having a personal publicist, as opposed to relying on the productions team, because the productions team, the goal for them is to promote the production. They're not as worried or concerned about your career, right? They want people to just go to watch the show. Now, inherently, anybody in that project or associated with that project will get some residual press out of it potentially, but really it's not maximizing what you could be doing if you had somebody focusing on just you, especially if you're a multi-hyphenate and you're doing lots of different things, or if you're an actor who's in lots of different projects, because you could promote more than one at a time, whereas a production is just going to pay attention to their project. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Our show's sponsor today is Roasted Luxury. And this coffee is so freaking good. I can't even begin to tell you. You'll never have to leave home again for coffee. And it's organic, fair trade, and small business, which we love. This is a good thing. They offer honey processed coffee, which means that the coffee is naturally sweeter. So you badass babes can add less sugar and have that second or third cup without the guilt, which we also love. Go to roastedluxury.com and use promo code BABES15 for 15% off your entire order. And you can feel good about helping a local business person who is also a badass babe. Yes. So thanks so much to Roasted Luxury for being our very first sponsor on Badass Babes of Entertainment. So what would you say is the hardest part of your job?
Well, there are many, it just depends. I think that the two things that I tell any client when they first come to me is, please come to me before you actually, something is premiering next week. Timeliness is super important, figuring out how in advance. I would much prefer somebody reach out to me with lots of lead time, right? Like 2 months to go, or, 6 months to go, even if it's a film, rather than, it's happening in 2 days, because that impacts, what we can potentially get for you. And then coming to me sort of with all of the materials that you need, or, all the details that you need, especially the release date and things of that nature, when we're actually ready to go, having your pictures, whatever pictures you're wanting to use, set, and all of that. So that's something that the actor or the artist has control over. The things that is hard and difficult in my job that they don't have control over, but it makes my job harder, is working with the studios and the networks. because some of them aren't as quick to get me photos if we need them, or to get signed off on a press release or a description or whatever it is that I may need from them to okay and give us their approval on. That makes it hard. And I do a lot of casting announcements too, like into the trades, and getting them to sign off sometimes on those, whether we can put something out or not, can be often more lengthy than anybody knows. I mean, it's crazy. And everybody just says, don't they want good press about what's happening with their show or what? And it's yes, but there's in a grand scheme of things, you have to keep in mind, they have a timeline for how they want to drip out the information. And it's not always factored in that you want it now because it helps your career now, but that's not always what they're after. So there's that. So there's two different areas. One, actors and artists have control over, the other, you don't. You just got to ride the wave.
Do you find that when you're dealing with actors, especially when they're newer or they have some things to talk about, but maybe they've only had like a little bit of action, and like managing their expectations for what they can actually get?
So that is I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a huge part of what I like to do from the very beginning. I am incredibly honest with people, and I will tell you I will crush your heart from the beginning if I feel like you're not sort of in reality. Because what I don't want is for us to have this amazing conversation that spins into this, I can get you on Good Morning America, and then I can't even hardly get you, on your hometown paper. So I would rather, let's have a frank, open, honest, conversation about it all. And I spend a lot of time in the beginning talking to people, even just, inquiry calls with actors who call me up and say, hey, I'm in this. Do you think it would be something that's possible? So we sort of go through, well, here's what your opportunities and options could be based on what you've got going on. And, I always tell people, don't take it personally. It has nothing really to do with who you really are or your talent, right? This is just a matter of part of what my job is to help figure out who I actually think will have interest, where the interest will lie and at what level. And then I can tell you that from the beginning. And I never guarantee anything because I don't own these outlets. So I just have my gut instinct with which I'm working with, but I've been doing it a long time and it's usually right. And, so if have a co-star, you're in one episode, you have a co-star, I'll just tell you, here's what I think we can do for you. There are outlets that actually have interest in pretty much anything that's happening in TV and film because it's cool and because not everybody's doing it. And then there are other outlets that'll be like, yeah, I can't. There's just way too many, smaller roles. I can't cover them all. So I do in trying to manage expectations. That's a huge part of what I do from the very beginning. Yes.
Gotcha. Have you dealt with any podcasts?
It's funny. Podcasts are such a newer venture in entertainment that I have a little bit, and I'm working with one right now actually, and I'm finding that it is still very similar in approach. It's just a matter of you have to find where your audiences sort of meet up. So there are other podcasts like who interview podcasters and you sort of share and do all of that. But there aren't as many actual traditional reporters who are covering podcasts these days, unless maybe they're doing a compilation, like a list, like, hey, here's 10 podcasts you should be listening to, or things of that nature. So it's a little harder actually than a traditional like film or TV or even web series. Web series are much easier now to get coverage for than they were when they first came out.
That's
and I have a feeling podcasts will probably run that same course. Give it a few more years where that is sort of just everybody's just in the regular people are listening to them and thinking they're cool. And there are so many already that it'll happen. It just takes a little time, and they'll be woven into the fabric of just another, genre, another platform style of which entertainment's delivered. And then there are different kinds of podcasts too. There are some like this where it's more talk, and then there are other narrative ones. So there's, all of those, weave in.
Or should we be setting the trend?
That's it, ladies.
Yes.
We want to be
That's
one of the
right.
first. We're not waiting a couple of years, Tammy. We're getting in there.
I think it's good. And I think, obviously, the more you guys, and I know you interview a diverse, group all related to one niche, you have a very specific, audience that you're trying to reach out to, which I think is so smart. And I think that's probably the mistake for any creator, whether you're creating a podcast or a film or a TV show or a web series or whatever. I think a lot of creators forget from the very beginning. I always say, who are you trying to reach? Who is your audience from the very beginning? If you don't know that, you're going to have a harder time on the marketing and PR front, because you've got to know that. And in order for me to be able to go, yes, I know where to find those people.
Right.
And then it makes it easier. So I always tell creators who are, from the beginning, as you're writing that script or as you're creating that new podcast or whatever, really think about who your audience is and where they currently go for their entertainment, or what are they currently watching or listening to or whatever, because then you'll know, hey, I want to piggyback off of what those people are doing and go find, get some of their audience and take that from them. That's the easiest way to do it.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Good.
you.
So one of the things we always do on our show is we ask everyone to do a shout out to a badass babe in your world that has helped lift you up and helped you on your journey. And so who would you like to do a shout out for?
I love this question. There's actually two. Okay. So in my personal life, it would be my mother, because she showed me everything. And in my professional life, it's a woman. I don't know if you're aware of her. Her name's Heidi Dean. And she is an amazing social media coach for actors and other artists. She and I have teamed up with to do some stuff together, because I don't handle social media. I'm strictly press. And so we've teamed up together before, but she is such a badass that if your audience doesn't know her, Heidi Dean, it's marketingforactors.com, I think. She's amazing. And she has courses, and she just has lots of blogs and Insta, and she's on every freaking platform there is, always sharing tons of information about how to up your social media game. She's phenomenal.
Amazing. And of course, it's like mom always seems to be
I know.
like the number one, because our moms are amazing and they're always supportive, and we just, couldn't do it without them. So
No, we can't. I mean, truly.
absolutely. God bless the mamas out there for sure.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so
much, Tammy. That was really helpful.
Yes, absolutely. I think everyone's going to get some great information out of this that will help them.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And anybody can find me I'm on all the socials and all of that, Spotlight PR Co. or spotlightprcompany.com.
And we'll link it in our bio too.
Oh, terrific. You can email me, anybody email me or call me or whatever. If people have questions, like I said, I don't charge for an inquiry. Like I'm answering those all the time. Just again, I think the biggest thing for me is just people don't sort of understand when is the best time. And,
Right.
and that's constantly what I'm helping people to understand.
No, and that's so important. And I love that you're willing to give some information and help people understand, when they're ready and when they need it. And, that's half the battle right there.
For sure. Definitely.
All right, Tammy, thanks again. And we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks so much, ladies.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This episode was produced by me, Megan Ketz.
And me, Brenda Fisher.
Thanks to our Grammy-nominated sound engineer, Herman Villacorta. We have another amazing guest next week, so be sure to listen. If there's a topic you would like us to cover, message us on Instagram at Babes of Entertainment, also on Facebook, Babes of Entertainment, and on Twitter, Babe_podcast.
And now TikTok, Babes of Entertainment on TikTok. Woo, woo, woo. This podcast was produced by RSA Entertainment and Rogue Matter. Join the movement. Go Rogue.
fresh start, and she's my gasoline. Slick chrome on the Mustang, drop top, no we don't play, 'cause I'm her